Okay, welcome back to our teaching on the soul of man, the spirit of man. So what is this? This should be number 13, correct? 12. Number 12. See, that's why, those of you on YouTube, that's why, or Brighton, the body, they keep me straight. I need them. Okay. Psalms chapter 16, verse 10, as we continue talking about soul self, Strong's number 5315. Psalms chapter 16, verse 10, prophecy of Christ, he says, "Thou wilt not leave my soul in hell." Thou wilt not leave my soul in hell. Now, is just his soul in hell? Jesus went, Peter tells us, and he preached in Sheol or in hell for 3 days and 3 nights. He preached to those who were sometime disobedient. Isn't that amazing? So he was there in spirit because he was not there in the flesh. In the Psalms, this is an important prophecy of Christ, that his soul will not be left in hell. Some people try to say, well, that word hell, it can be used for grave. Listen, the word means grave, and it also means in the Hebrew, place of departed spirits. Place of departed. So in other places, the metaphor is that it is a chamber underground. Not just a grave, but a gigantic chamber underground. One called righteous, and one called torment. The righteous now are in heaven since the sacrifice of Christ. Torment is still there. But Christ went there to the place of torment, and he preached to those who were sometimes disobedient. And he said, "You will not leave my soul in hell." Well, what about his spirit? Well, you can't separate the two. And when they say your soul that has departed, or when Rebecca died and it says her soul departed, it means her spirit left. Remember what we already read, that when you die, it says man's spirit goes to God. The animal's soul, though, goes to the earth. So the animal's soul goes back to dust. Man's spirit, though, goes to God. Why? To be determined where it's going to go. Which chamber, righteous side or unrighteous side? We call it the Great White Throne Judgment. Everybody thinks that the White Throne Judgment is a one-time thing. It's not. It goes on all the time. In the book of Revelations, when it talks about the Great White Throne Judgment, it's just talking about, okay, here's the end. When everybody, at the end of the millennial reign of Christ, everybody ends up all at once, and everybody that died, lived or died during the whole millennial reign of Christ ends up resurrected and standing before Christ again. For what? To determine where they're going to go. The punishment side or to the righteous side? To the left or the right of the Lamb. That's all. The White Throne Judgment is happening right now. People are dying now at an accelerated rate. They are being determined where they go. You will not leave my soul in hell. No, the Lord resurrected him and brought him out of hell. And then when he ascended on high, he took captivity captive unto God. And so he emptied out hell. Again, Psalm 49:15, "Redeem my soul from the power of the grave." Yeah. Redeem my soul from the power of the grave. And what's he talking about there? He's talking about a resurrection someday. So that his soul, being redeemed from the power of the grave, could manifest itself again. What do I mean by that? Well, let me ask you this. How does your soul manifest itself right now? Well, through your body. That's how. Through your body. But if you fall on the ground right now and die, am I going to see you wave bye-bye when you leave? Are you going to pick up your hand and do this one last time and then leave? No, you can't manifest anything. And people say, oh, but you can stay as a ghost. No, you don't. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. For what? To be distributed to wherever you are bound to go. Punishment or to reward. Whichever way you're bound. Whichever way you have decided. You will not leave my soul in the grave. What that means is that someday there's going to be a resurrection. And my soul will again manifest. Why? Because we'll have new bodies. What will the new bodies be like? Well, Paul talked about it quite a bit. And he said it'll be heavenly. New heavenly bodies will be like the angels. And our soul will be able to manifest through that body the desires of the Spirit of God mixed with our spirit. And our soul will follow the Spirit perfectly. Perfectly. Your personality, in other words, that's what your soul is. Your personality, that part of it is your genetics, part of it is your life experiences. You start off as a baby with nothing but your genetics and the mind of man that God gave you, which is part of your spirit. Okay? That's why babies don't know anything. But as they start experiencing things, they start learning. You know, their soul starts coming out, and pretty soon you see a personality there that is just remarkable. Like we talked about before, even fish have personalities. Okay. Yeah, the hope of the resurrection is the hope that our soul will once again be able to manifest and do good. You know, in the Ecclesiastes, it talks about, well, the soul of man is like the soul of the dog. I mean, you die and you don't know anything anymore. And you can't do anything anymore. In other words, you're a disembodied spirit. You're not a ghost going boo and scaring people or trying to manipulate things and make things fly across a room. That's what demon spirits do, mimicking humans. That's not humans. There are no human ghosts manifesting on the earth. You're not allowed to do that. What a torment that would be. A disembodied spirit watching your loved ones and go on after you or making mistakes. You can't do anything to warn them. You can't do anything to help them. Oh, what a torment that would be. No, the Lord doesn't do that to us. He lets us alone, and we can leave that behind and deal with our own lives and our own mistakes or our own rewards, you know. Okay. But we will always long to be in a new body and to do something. To do something. I really want to pick that cup up. I can't pick it up. You know, so they can't touch anything. They can't do anything. Disembodied. What are they doing? They're waiting to be clothed from on high. And that's why during the Great Tribulation, the souls under the altar, the Lord gives them white robes of white. That's their new bodies. Why? Because they're about to come back with him at the second coming. When they cry out, "Oh Lord, how much longer until you avenge us from those who murdered us?" There's 6 months of time left before the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming, when all of those people come back with the Lord and with swords in their hands, and they begin slaying the people that actually slew them. They begin slaying the people, the soldiers at the Battle of Armageddon. Isn't that amazing? When they come back with the Lord, they will have their new bodies that their soul will manifest through. Okay, going on. Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 7. Tell me, O you whom my soul loves, where do you pasture your flock? Where do you make it to lie down at noon? For why should I be like one who veils herself behind the flocks of your companions? Amazing. Tell me, O you whom my soul loves. The bride of Christ, her soul is in love with the groom. Her soul is in love with the groom. Well, the only way that happens is if she dwells on the groom. If she spends time with the groom, if she tells her soul, get behind the desire of my spirit to commune with my God. Until you love my God with the same desire that my spirit is longing for. And the bride will be that person. Song of Songs, chapter 3. Let me read for a few verses here. I'm going to read for a few verses. On my bed, night after night, I sought whom my soul loves. I sought him, but did not find him. I must arise now and go about the city, in the streets, in the squares. I must seek him, whom my soul loves. I sought him, but did not find him. The watchmen who make the rounds of the city, they found me. And I said, have you seen him, whom my soul loves? Scarcely had I left them when I found him, whom my soul loves. I held on to him and would not let him go until I brought him to my mother's house, into the room of her who conceived me. The bride of Christ is going to go back to the church manifesting the love of God. Her soul fully in love with the groom, so that when she shows up there in the door of that church or standing up here looking back at the people, the love of God, the love for God is going to be pouring out of her eyes and out of her heart and manifesting to all the people there until they see Jesus looking at them. They feel the love of God. They feel the presence of God in the room. And it will be your love for God through your soul that will drive you there. You cannot be divided in your heart. You can't love the world and the Lord at the same time and expect to become hot in God. Okay? We have to not be divided, and we have to be focused on the Lord with our soul, not just our spirit. So many people think that they can live in the world in their soul, but come to church and pray in tongues in their spirit and be just fine in God. And you're double-minded. That's what it means to be double-minded. Our soul needs to get behind our emotions, our heart. Get behind our spirit. And when we pray in tongues, don't just repeat over and over again. Paul talks about that repetition that means nothing. Don't just think that, well, I'm praying in the spirit, so that's enough. No, it's not. Your soul has to be involved, or you're double-minded. We have to get our eyes and our hearts together. Our spiritual eyes and our hearts together when we pray. When we pray, you might be tired at first in your flesh, and then you have to push. And I keep saying this, and Mina keeps getting in the spirit. And that is push. Push. Push in your flesh. Push in your soul. Get behind your spirit. Your spirit knows how to pray in tongues because it's a spiritual manifestation, so your spirit has no problem with that. But our souls have a hard time getting behind our spirits. Why? Because our minds or our soulish thoughts are not tickled. So how do you get behind your spirit? Push in your emotions. Push in your heart. Push with all that you have. And pretty soon you're going to find that your heart and soul together long. Just like the deer panting for the water brooks. Your soul too will long for the presence of God. I want to end in Song of Songs here, and then I'll give you a couple of references. So if I go over just a little bit, forgive me. This will be a 14-minute truth, I guess. Song of Songs, chapter 6, verse 12. She says this, before I was aware, my soul made me the chariot of my noble people. Before I even knew what happened, my soul made me the chariot of my noble people. What does a chariot do? It carries the king. It carries the king. Now what's amazing is it says, before I was aware, in other words, before my mind knew it, before my spirit even knew how it happened, my soul made me the chariot carrying the king of my noble people, or the born again. Don't you want to be the chariot of Christ? I want to be the chariot of Christ. I want to be the chariot of Christ, not so that the chariot's seen, but so the rider is seen. The king is seen of our noble people, Christians. Before my mind could contemplate, my soul made me. So what does that tell us? What does that tell us, brethren? It tells us an important thing, I'll tell you that. It tells us a very important thing. That our soul has to be fully involved in our worship and in our pursuit of the Spirit. Our soul has to be fully involved, or it will not become on fire and in love with Christ. Our soul has to be fully involved, or it will not become submissive enough to become the chariot of the people of God. With that, Ezekiel chapter 14, verses 13 through 23 for your notes. Save their own souls by their righteousness. Talks about saving your own soul by your righteousness. What does that mean? It means turn your soul toward righteousness and you'll be saved. Turn your soul and keep your soul toward righteousness and turn from sin. Amos chapter 6, verse 8, the Lord has sworn by his own soul. There is nothing higher, no higher vow than God swearing by his own soul. God controls his soul fully. He's trying desperately to teach us to do the same. God is spirit. He is soul. And he has created us in his image, so we too have a spirit and a soul. But his soul is fully in line with his spirit, and so he is telling us to get our soul in line with our spirit as well. Your soul is your desires, your appetites, your personality. Get it fully in line with the Lord and turn it away from wickedness and from the things of the world which diminish your walk with the Lord. All right, Lord bless you until we come together again. Thank you.